Oh, this is going to be a good one.
You're listening to Pete the Planner.
This week on the Pete the Planner Show, we answer your money questions. Email us, askpete@petetheplanner.com. That's askpete@petetheplanner.com. I say we, not because I have such an inflated sense of self. I mean, I might. Beside the point, Damian Dunn joins me in studio. Hello.
Hi, Pete.
You know, two wrongs don't make a right, but two duns do make a show. All right, this week on the show, we have a fixed annuity question. What is it, like a run on annuities recently?
It is.
Fascinating article out from Bloomberg News about people making the wrong Social Security choices. Probably the least surprising thing I've ever said to you.
Yeah, it's something that we deal with on a daily basis on Your Money Line, and it's something that people get wrong all the time.
I make terrible decisions all the time personally, not financially, but other areas of my life. Knowing it's a bad decision, I do it. I'm like, it'll be okay for me, and it never is. When we talk about Social Security here in a little bit, my theory here, my hypothesis, is that most people are like, well, we'll figure it out. And they don't.
No, they don't.
Until then, let's answer this question. Oh, Dame, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
We're this little section of the show called Checking In with Dame. Dame, how's it going?
It's great. Thank you for asking.
Let's move on.
Pete.
All right, Pete, we're in the process of, when people write emails, they do it in different ways. Like they'll structure it different. So this person wrote Pete and then bullet point number 1. Like it's sort of, I'm into it though.
Yeah.
I'm into it. Dennis writes Pete 1. We're in the process of signing with a planner who proposes we take our money out of IRAs, mutual funds, stocks, put it in fixed annuities that are rated highly for 9 years at 6.25% with caps. He said we could live on income from federal government retirement, Social Security retirement, wife and I, 4-unit apartment building in California. Okay, so that's point number 1. Are you with me so far?
So far, I'm hanging in.
2, another planner said similar things, but to get money out of the market, put it into a different annuity, 4 to 7%, depending on the market and with caps.
Okay.
Haven't signed. Oh, wait, hold on. Okay. I haven't signed yet, but they both predict a big correction anytime soon. 3, several others have called from a financial website. Is it us? Do we call? Do we call people?
I don't think Dennis is on my list.
No, we don't call people. But the 2 above are the only ones we've seen yet. This still seems confusing, and I'm very concerned we haven't considered IRS home mortgage in the calculations. Also, don't want to leave something out to bite us later. I'm concerned about market correction, but don't want to move forward so fast. What are your thoughts? Thanks, Dennis. Can we call him Denny, do you think?
I think so.
Den? All right, dude. Where to begin? So let's start with 1. A fixed annuity with 6.25% at 9 years. That doesn't seem right. No, what's paying 6.25% on a 9-year contract right now?
I don't know. And those are strongly rated companies.
I know. The first one makes me nervous.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know more about it just to see what else is out there. But that doesn't seem right.
Let's have a couple things that are important to say. You and I do not operate in the annuity world.
Not at all.
But we operate on the outside of the annuity world, meaning that we constantly are evaluating these sorts of decisions for people, helping them evaluate their own decisions. Back in 2002, I saw some 6% fixed annuities, but I've not seen them since then.
About a minute ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no way. So I'm skeptical that we're missing something there. But it does say with caps. So I don't think that one's actually a fixed annuity. I think it's an index annuity that caps out at 6.25.
That could very well be.
See, here's the thing when it gets to annuities. We talk about it all the time. Annuities can be confusing, but that alone is not a reason to say, oh, you shouldn't use them. But this bothers me when considering a purchase of annuity, people don't get the terms right, and it terrifies me.
Yeah, there's the old saying that never do something unless you understand it financially.
Is that an old saying? Who said it? Was it like an old man?
Yeah, Ben Franklin, actually the first person that said that.
I don't know.
And that was a direct quote. Direct quote, Pete.
Wow.
Anyway, but it's just good advice. If you don't understand the stuff that your financial advisor wants to put you in, ask him to explain it again or her to explain it again, because you need to understand this stuff.
So there's no way that's a fixed annuity, right? Another factor here. Man, this is. I don't want to get too finite into the particular details of it. I think we need to go bigger picture here. Number one, clearly they're selling on fear.
Yeah, there's a fear aspect to it for sure. They both are predicting a big correction, which I don't know about you, Pete, but a correction would not surprise me.
Right. I mean, I would go as far as to say I'm not a prediction guy. I can totally see a correction coming. The question is it worth doing something with your money if a correction is coming? Because the people that did stuff with their money in 2008 that tried to do something different, in the end, have lost out based on what the market's done since then.
Now, I also want to say that Dennis makes the comment that the first advisor said that they could live off of their streams of income plus the rent that they get from their apartment building in California.
Right.
So if this money isn't needed, is it worth being tied up in an annuity? We had a situation like this not long ago.
Yeah, it's true. Well, I almost would ask the question the opposite way, though. If the money isn't needed, what's it matter that it's tied up into an annuity?
Well, I guess it gets back to what's the ultimate goal for this cash?
What's the objective? So if this cash is conservative growth, not a terrible spot, the first one at least, right? Yeah. If the point is income, I don't know. I don't think he really needs it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost like the same question we had a couple weeks ago, but the guy is younger as opposed to what happens on the back end.
Yeah, I think I kind of just referred to that.
This is like that thing a couple weeks ago where it's the guy.
Yeah, it reminds me of that situation that I just talked about.
He does make another interesting point. I'm moving on. He hasn't been talked to about taxes and the impact on mortgage calculations, those sorts of things with these advisors. Can we make the assumption it's because these are really about product sales at this point in time and they're not necessarily doing a full financial plan on the guy?
Oh man, it could be. Gosh, he uses the word planner, and immediately I think of somebody that's doing a comprehensive plan. But sometimes advisor, planner, all those those terms are used interchangeably.
Shouldn't be.
If
he missed fixed annuity versus an index annuity, what are the chances that he's calling these people planners and they're not planners? Because I'm going to go back to this first point, that this idea that the person told him that he can live on all these other things, but he doesn't have to tap money of this annuity, very well could be true. But it also makes it seem like that's a great way to sell an annuity that maybe isn't a perfect fit for somebody.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's some question marks that are being raised here.
Yeah, I'm not saying I distrust any of these people. But I also, the third thing, several others have called from a financial website. What's that happen? Don't take calls from financial websites.
I bet there was a steak dinner involved.
I love dinner. I have no problems with annuities, but I have a problem with annuities when they're not put in the right situations. I'm a little nervous about this. This guy doesn't understand the difference between a fixed and index annuity. And if you're listening right now and you're like, I don't understand, great, but that means you probably shouldn't buy an annuity right now. The planner thing doesn't feel plannerish. I don't know. You're not car buying here. You're not comparing two cars. They're just really different things.
Pump the brakes, Denny.
Pump the brakes. Coming up after the break, Dame. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have you make a really good point. I'm going to restate the point as my own, and the listeners will just be tickled to death. You like that?
I do.
All right, we're going to do that next, right here on the Dame the Planner Show. I'm his co-host, Pete the Planner. Back on the Pete the Planner show. Microphone sound. All right, move my microphone. Damian, we're moving into a new studio here in a couple weeks, and I think I'm going to replace the old swing arm here. It's been with me since 2009, and it squeaks really bad.
Some WD-40 might take care of that.
I'm not into dance beats. All right, listen, Dame, was a UB40 joke. Dame, we asked people last week if they thought you were funny to send an email to us that says, Damian jokes are funny, and I have to say, we did not get a single email that said that.
It's because people were busy that appreciate my humor. They didn't have enough time to do it.
A story out of Bloomberg News via the IBJ said Americans lose trillions claiming Social Security at the wrong time. All right, so before we get into the details of this thing, Dame, this is not surprising. Nothing is surprising about this.
Not at all.
I always feel bad when I say things like, if you're looking for what the right answer is, generally go against the flow, financially, go against the flow of people running towards what they think is the right answer.
Yeah, being a little bit of a contrarian financially usually works out for you.
Almost always.
Yeah.
I mean, really, if you hear something and that's what everyone, well, it's not about hearing something. It's if you see what everyone does, do the opposite and you'll be okay. Mm-hmm. Think about it. Here's the best way to think about it. Let's say everyone's like bailing out of the market. If you were buying into the market, then you would be buying at a really good price.
Absolutely.
Consult your financial advisor. Okay, so here's the thing. People can start claiming Social Security as early as 62 years old, Social Security retirement payments. Most people know that. Mm-hmm. And if you wait until your full retirement age, and I say that with air quotes, but I didn't do the air quotes, but it sort of felt like then you can take it at 66 or 67, depending on when you were born. And then if you wait until as late as you can take it at 70. You can get Social Security retirement payments at 70. You get a pretty significant increase on the monthly payments for the rest of your life. So that's the score. Dame, do you want to add any color to that before we talk about where this goes wrong?
No, let's jump into where it goes wrong, and we will start to fill in the blanks.
Okay, so there's some rules of thumb, but sometimes they don't apply. Sometimes people misapply them. But it all begins with longevity. Dame, if you think you're going to live a really long time, when should you take Social Security?
70 years old, or as late as you possibly can.
And I think this is a pretty good rule of thumb, even though we don't say rule of thumb anymore because it's a pejorative. But rule of Peter. Pretty good rule of Peter. If you're going to live a long time, which no one knows, but if you have longevity in your family and your health is good and you aren't battling a bunch of stuff, and you get to these ages, 62 and 70 range, just chill and wait till 70.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it increases your payment for every year that you wait beyond full retirement age. Your payment's going to increase about 8% per year.
And while we can't say that's a great rate of return because it doesn't exactly work that way, it just increases the payments by 8%. On the flip side, if you get, an itchy trigger finger and you're 62 and you're like, I'm tired of this, and by this I mean working with people like me, then you could pull the trigger early and reduce your benefit from the full retirement age by 25%.
Yeah, it's a large amount, especially when you consider that it's going to happen forever, for the rest of your life, and potentially your spouse's life as well.
Yeah, so a lot of people get this wrong. All right, and that's what this report says, is that it's costing Americans trillions of dollars. Okay, here's some direct quotes from the study. While most people are better off waiting until age 70, about 43% of adults would actually be better off claiming earlier benefits than that. Okay, so we just said one thing, and this says that sometimes the other is true. Mm-hmm. I think this is where this gets really confusing, and people will listen to a show like this and say, oh, well, they said this. No. We're giving you some guidelines, but you need to go talk to someone that runs your very specific situation, dealing with the age of your significant other, mm-hmm. your age, their health, your other assets, other income levels. What else do people forget?
Part of this is also determined on who was the breadwinner. If there was a dual income household, who was the breadwinner and who made a little bit less, that can have a big effect on who's going to start taking their benefits when. Because when one of you eventually moves into post-retirement, as we refer to it.
I had to call a quick timeout this week because there's an article in the IBJ this week about Tamika Catchings, great Indiana Fever basketball player, gold medal winner. And the article is titled, What Tamika Catchings is Doing in Post-Retirement.
Ooh.
Like to us, when we say post-retirement, it means you're dead.
Yeah.
I think retirement is what she's in. But are they saying she's unretired?
She's unretired now? Well, post basketball retired? Well,
I read
playing?
that and I was
I
like,
don't
is
know.
she dead? And then she's not.
Yeah.
Which is great. I'm glad she's not.
Yeah. Hi, Tamika. Thank you for everything you've
She
done.
doesn't listen.
Yeah.
She's a very nice person, though.
Maybe she will.
She might. She's very inquisitive. I've met her a few times. She's like one of those people that just wants to learn. Like she's a fascinating person.
Maybe this podcast will be what introduces us to her and her non-dead post-retirement.
Maybe we can have her as a celebrity guest sometime.
That'd be amazing.
She's awesome. We'd love to have her. There's another part of this study that was interesting about the sort of the bigger implications of this. If everyone took benefits at the right time, this analysis concluded the poverty rate among elderly Americans would drop from about 13% to 7%. Meanwhile, the wealthiest 25% of retirees would get an average 14% income boost over the rest of their lives versus the 6% for the poorest quarter of retirees. So here's what this is saying. Elderly impoverishment happens late in life, right? The later you get. I mean, truly as late as you can get, because you just run out of money. You run out of, we'll call it supplemental income tools. I don't know what that means. So what this is saying is that won't take place because people will have larger income payments from Social Security and they won't have to tap their other sources as much.
This is also assuming that people are going to be willful enough to not increase their lifestyle because they've got additional funds available to them.
This is also assuming people aren't going to increase their lifestyle because they'll have more funds available to them. Had you considered that?
That's an amazing point, Pete.
Thank you. That's a really good point that I made, because this ignores behavior. It doesn't ignore the behavior of making the decision of when to take Social Security, but it completely ignores the toilet paper theory, right? More roll or more TP on the roll, the more you'll use.
Yeah. And, assuming people are going to behave as rational beings is frankly a mistake.
A giant mistake.
So while all of this statistically may be 100% correct, if you ignore the behavior component of it, you're asking for trouble. Because making the right decision is one thing. Being able to live with that right decision and apply it and have it affect your life is a complete other thing.
I have another anecdotal theory here. I find that people in this age group, 60 to 70, get a degree of fatigue, financial fatigue, and they're just over it and they don't care, even though it's when they have to care because the decisions really matter. And it's sort of a form of capitulation. They're just like, whatever, and just I'd rather have it now.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Do you see that?
Yeah.
Me too. And that's where mistakes tend to happen.
Yeah.
Do you think Social Security will be around for us, you and me?
In some form, yes. I don't think there's any way that a law gets passed that would terminate the Social Security program. It will get modified. There's very small doubt in my mind that it will be modified, but it'll still be there.
Here's what we're going to do after the break. I have not told you about this yet.
Excellent. These are the best.
I want to look at the free college and student loan forgiveness proposals going on right now within the world.
Sure.
And I want to explore them from every angle. What is maybe good? What is horribly bad? Not that you and I weigh in and say this is the way we should go, but I think sometimes when in political discourse we throw out these great ideas, let's put a jukebox in the cafeteria. Like there's got to be some sort of pragmatic sense to it, and I don't know if there really is. So we'll explore that next. Damian Dunn in studio drinking a Diet Coke because that's what he does.
I do.
I'm drinking coffee. No one cares what we're drinking. We'll be back in a moment and tell you what we're going to eat for lunch. I'm Pete the Planner. Back on the Pete the Planner Show, talking student loan forgiveness. Dame, I didn't know if you knew this, but it's election season, a year and a half out from election season.
I couldn't be less excited.
You really couldn't be, because I mentioned something about recent debates, and you're like, I don't care.
I don't. I try and avoid it as much as possible.
Good for you. It keeps you mentally sharp. There's two major proposals out there from Democratic presidential candidates, one from Senator Elizabeth Warren and one from Senator Bernie Sanders. And I want to talk through what they are proposing happens with the student loan bubble in this country. And then what I'd like to do is to give two financial experts' opinions on this, but then just talk about it. Damian and I are entitled to our opinion. It doesn't make them any better than your opinion. Curious as to what your opinion is. Feel free to email us, askpete@petetheplanner.com. askpete@petetheplanner.com. We like civil discourse here. Damian and I often disagree, so who knows? We'll just keep it civil too. All right, Dame. Under Elizabeth Warren's student loan forgiveness plan, do you know this, or am I informing you for the first time? You've seen it.
I've heard a whole bunch of stuff floated around. I may not know whose plan is which, so this will be a good refresher.
Under Senator Warren's proposal, student loan forgiveness would be capped at $50,000 per borrower. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Eligibility, of course, is important in this. It has a means test, and eligibility would be based on income. Borrowers who earn $100,000 or less would be eligible for the maximum student loan forgiveness of $50,000.
Okay.
And if you earn between $100,000 to $250,000, it would be gradually reduced. That's just me coughing, because I don't have a cough button, and I don't feel bad at all. I do feel bad, and that's why I brought it up. I'm trying to deflect. Borrowers who earn more than $250,000 would not be eligible for that at all. Under this proposal, Senator Warren's campaign said that 75% of all outstanding student loan debt would be canceled, and 95% of student loan borrowers would receive at least some benefit. Under Senator Sanders' proposal, all $1.6 trillion in student loan debt would be canceled immediately, and there would be no means testing or income qualifications. So let's start there. And we can dig deeper here in a moment. But what do you think? What do you think?
I'm conflicted about student loan forgiveness, to be honest.
Yeah.
It is a. I have now. I need a cough
I
button.
passed the cough. It
yeah.
can like.
Yeah, yawns are catching, and now apparently coughs are catching too. I'm conflicted about student loan forgiveness. It's a huge issue that needs some addressing, but it's not like it's a surprise either.
There's no nuance in this,
No.
especially with Bernie's plan.
No. This was a cost that was knowingly taken on. It's not like you all of a sudden figure out that, oh my gosh, college is expensive and I'm going to owe a whole bunch of money and it's going to really impact my lifestyle. That's not news to anybody. So this is a cost that you are knowingly walking into when you sign up for it. That should be your issue and not somebody else's. Personal responsibility, I'm kind of big on. So now, to that end, for a long time, students have been sold that college is almost mandatory anymore, and that they may feel like, well, I really don't have many other options, so I've got to go try the college waters and see what happens there. I'm here to tell you that college is not the only option.
Which is where my point begins.
Well,
Okay.
I'll pass the baton.
All right. Thank you. We just did a hand motion thing, and I feel really weird.
Yeah, it was kind of.
Why did we do that?
I don't know.
So glad there's not a camera in here. I feel uncomfortable. All right, so that's where my point began. So I totally agree with you. I think to take the rest of society who has not gone to college, who does not have student loan debt, and to ask them to absorb as a taxpayer that's gross. I don't like that, because they either didn't go to college because they didn't want to, which is their prerogative, and they didn't want to deal with the financial ramifications of that. Or even worse, Dame, they couldn't financially make it happen. So, or they felt so bad about the system that they chose to not make it happen. Thus, they are now still paying for other people's college educations. But, and now I do understand it's not that simple, right? Because how these plans are paid for, sort of a magic shell game of tax the rich and this or that. So I think this is unfair to people who did not go to college. I think it's incredibly unfair to people who did not go to college. And I think it's mildly unfair to people who did go to college that fought and scrapped and paid it off.
Sure. There's a lot about these proposals that don't give me warm fuzzies.
Sure.
They just make me uncomfortable. Is there a way to get around this without mass forgiveness?
To get around the bubble.
Around the bubble without mass forgiveness?
No.
No. There would have to be some law changes that would essentially make student loans dischargeable way more easily.
With bankruptcy. But then a person wipes out their entire financial life.
Yeah.
The other element to this that Mrs. Planner brought up when she and I discussed this, which we did not agree on this topic, which is fine. It wouldn't be the first, is that this is great or whatever, or it's not great, but let's say it happens, it still doesn't solve the problem going forward of the cost of education.
Right.
In some way, forgiving all these student loan debt, you could argue it would make college more expensive.
Sure.
So unless there is a free college element attached to this is her point, this is pointless. And she's right. So let's say you wipe out everyone's student loan debt, $1.6 trillion, which, by the way, dude, think how many people have borrowed for college via home equity lines and 401k loans and all those things that would never get paid back under this. Would put those people at a disadvantage because they did what they could do under the rules to try to finish the job.
Sure.
So let's say that's all wiped out, and then you've got another child about to go to college, and that child, we're going to do this again and then forgive the student loans another 30 years? There would have to be a free element to that. I honestly have less of a problem with free college education than I do mass student loan wipeout.
I think there is an argument to be made for some level of post-high school education to be, paid for. My concern with that, though, is that it starts to get watered down and it becomes basically grades 13 through 15 or 16 or however far that education is going to go. And I'm sure there's some people out there that would say some colleges have already turned into that it's such a watered down offering that it's really not what college was intended to be.
And then there would already be premium offerings.
Yep.
Then everyone would go for the premium offerings and you start over again.
Yep, and you're going to have those two tiers. So you're going to have the publicly funded options that are free to the user, and then you'll have the ones that still are able to be achieved by folks with some means, or that just want to take on more debt and get themselves right back into a similar situation. But you're still going to have a different strata of education available to people who can afford it.
At the risk of stepping in this mud hole, are there parallels between this and healthcare with the same logic, or with a minute left, or is that a completely different thing?
Well, that's a good question. There certainly could be. I mean,
I think it's a little different. It's a little more complicated because then you get into pricing of drugs and services and all those sorts of things. It's a little more.
And availability of care is I don't know. We probably shouldn't talk until we develop that a little bit more.
Thanks, Dad. I just, as we wrap here, I would say this. I don't want people to have student loans. I just can't see that the solution is mass forgiveness. And I could see at least a free college option being helpful for people. But wiping out $1.6 trillion in debt, even if it's a balance sheet move, it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't seem fair, not to me, whose family paid for my college education, but for those people that did not go to college because of the limits of this. I just think that's not fair. So coming up after the break, we're going to hit biggest waste of money of the week, your college education if you paid for it, apparently, and the news. I'm Pete the Planner, and this is the Pete the Planner Show. This week's biggest waste of money of the week right here on the Pete the Planner Show is, Dame, I've got two. I've got one that's cheap and stupid and expensive and stupid. Which one do you want?
Let's go with cheap and stupid.
Good, because that's where I'm at. So
Fantastic.
You really just saved the show flow. The Blackwing pencil. Blackwing's story goes all the way back to the launch of the 602, and I assume it's the 602, in the 1930s. Relied upon by such notable artists as John Steinbeck, Stephen Sondheim, and Looney Tunes legend Chuck Jones, they were discontinued in 1998. Revived by Palomino in 2010, these modern Blackwings are softer than the 602, but exude similar quality with the same iconic square, ferrule, and eraser. The standard Blackwing has a matte black finish and black eraser, while the Pearl has a white finish, white eraser, and slightly firmer graphite. Available in packs of 12. So this is a $25 pencil, Damian.
For one?
A pack of 12, which doesn't make this seem that bad, but I mean, man, people really into those pencils.
When was the last time you used a pencil?
I'll write with whatever I can find. It just so happens I can rarely find a pencil.
My kids, my youngest had kindergarten this year, and so we've got some. Have you seen those really thick pencils?
Oh yeah, I love those. I need a thick writing utensil.
I can actually write really well with that.
I can too.
Which I don't know what that says about
How'd
me.
that kindergarten graduation go?
Everybody walked across the stage.
They did it.
Yeah, they did it.
Is there someone that hasn't graduated kindergarten and that's who we're trying to like exclude here? You did it. You went to school every day that your parents made you to go.
That's right.
And you learned about colors and stuff.
That's right.
The biggest waste of money of the week, part due, is Chernobyl Exclusion Zone Tour. HBO's miniseries following the tragic nuclear accident of 1986 has inspired a surge of interest in the city of, and the neighboring power plant. To feed the need of hungry fans, Atlas Obscura has organized the Chernobyl Exclusion Zone Tour. The 11-day excursion will guide guests through this radioactive wasteland to explore Ground Zero, the reactors and other facilities within the nuclear power plant. Although, as you're visiting the site, keep in mind the wishes of the show's creator, Craig Martin, and please remember that a terrible tragedy occurred there. Comport yourselves with respect for all who suffered and sacrificed. $4,225 to walk around a nuclear wasteland.
It doesn't seem like a great life choice to me.
There was a great line I read this week on the internet, something to the effect of, I can count 9 times I felt bad watching that show all in one hand or something like that. Anyway, I butchered the joke. Why would you go to a nuclear wasteland and go, like, yep, we're in a nuclear wasteland?
There are lots of places that you could go in the world. A nuclear wasteland is probably not high on my list.
I don't know. Dame, this week in Financial Current Events, a guy wrote a column for Market Watch, an opinion piece called "These 16 Money Wasters Are Why So Many Americans Can't Save for Retirement."
These are the best.
So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play... he's a 75-year-old. Big money wasters. Okay, here we go. You know what wastes money, Damian? Can I call you Damian?
Sure. It's my name.
Tattoos.
Okay.
$200 an hour my ear.
For a tattoo on your ear, $200?
What?
Yeah, exactly.
Tattoos are a waste of money.
Well, I don't know if they're a waste of money.
You know what else is a waste of money?
What else is a waste of money?
Vacation.
Vacation.
That's right.
All right, now you're cutting a little bit too close.
This is according to my column. You want to go to the Magic Kingdom? Just bang your head on a ladder and see stars and be fine. You know what else is a waste of money?
What?
College. You don't have to go to college. You know what else is a waste of money?
Please tell.
Restaurants.
Okay, yeah, some of them.
Oh, you want to eat?
I'll give you that.
People are soft these days. When I was a kid, we'd go to the sorghum fields. It's all you could eat. It's free.
I think that's called theft if you're not.
You know what else people waste money on?
What's that?
Opportunity. Back to my list here. I wrote this for Market Watch. It was Richard Quinn, and these are the things people waste money on. Number 6, transportation.
Yeah.
When I was a boy, we walked.
Uphill.
Both ways.
That's right.
You know what else? Credit cards.
I agree with you there, Richard.
Good point. Call me Dick. Next one, lottery.
Yep,
I agree with that one.
totally.
Clothing. When I was a boy, we wore a fig leaf. Just covered our swimsuit covers. No one could see those parts, but all the rest are wasteful.
Good point, Dick.
Shoes. Shoes are a waste of money, according to my list at Market Watch. When I was a boy, we would take deer hide from roadkill and just tape them to the bottom of our feet. We'd walk around and someone would say, "Oh dear, I love your shoes." You know what else is a waste of money? Tchotchkes. That's right, tchotchkes. Why are you going to decorate your house?
They provide a little bit of flair for your house.
You know what else is a waste of money, according to my list from Market Watch? Failing to look ahead. I don't even know what that means. I don't got much time left. Number 13, no backup plans. It's a waste of money.
Yeah, you can get yourself into some trouble if you don't plan ahead.
You know what was a waste of money?
What, Dick?
Holidays.
Okay.
Sure, Jesus was born, but you don't have to buy your cousin a gift over it. Happy Hanukkah. You know what else is a waste of money? Toys.
You play with a stick and a hoop?
Yeah. Kids don't need toys. Parents spend $6,500 a year on toys. Just take them to Chernobyl and have them play with the lizards.
All 5 heads of them.
You know what else is a waste of money? Haircuts.
Well,
When I was a boy, we grew our hair out so long that when we walked to school, we'd trip over it, and then we would just lay on the ground and eat the rocks because that way we didn't spend money on food.
when you were a boy, you had hair.
So that's Richard Quinn's 16 things that people waste money on.
I can't wait to have Richard Quinn as our special guest next week.
I don't know how any of those things make sense. Some of them actually make sense. Obviously, people waste money on this stuff, but like, at what point do you check yourself in the mirror like, man, I'm really making some old guy comments? You know that I do all the time. I got some old guy in me.
Oh, yeah. I mean, okay, so like...
He didn't say Starbucks, though.
He didn't. No,
He didn't say
he
Starbucks.
loves his caffeine. No, like shoes. The guy's not saying shoes are a waste of money, but having 30 pairs of shoes,
Hey, let's not look me right in the eye when you say that.
if it makes you uncomfortable, there's probably some truth to it.
That's true.
30 pairs of shoes might be a little excessive. Or a lot excessive.
Yeah, well, you never know.
Yeah.
Different occasions. All right, I'm going to go. I don't have any tattoos, though, so that's good.
Not yet. I'm still waiting for the company tattoo.
Tattoo. We should get company tattoos. So anyway, there's Richard Quinn's list of things. What else is in current financial current events? 40% of Americans say the next recession is already here. Is that an opinion question? Isn't it an economic measure?
Yeah.
We're not contracting.
It's still an interesting observation, though, because people feel like things are starting to constrict and they're reducing their spending, and it just feels like, I mean, you saw the consumer confidence level number.
I didn't.
It fell pretty sharply.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, it went down pretty good this time. So
Okay.
I think we may be starting to pretend or act like we're in a down or a recession. But
we talked about it earlier in the show. I could totally see a correction on the horizon as possible. Like, I'm not predicting it. It just would not surprise me, might be the best way to say it. A recession doesn't necessarily surprise me. We're about due.
yeah, we're going to have one. I just
Right.
don't know when.
But I wouldn't go as far as to say it's already began. I probably have said that at some point in time in some bold statement.
Yeah.
Damian, we're out of time.
Okay.
Thanks for being here. Special guest Richard Quinn. Thank you for your time, Dick. And that's all we have time for this week. So I'm sending you good vibes because good vibes are all that's in the budget. Damian, do you think anyone's going to email about that?
I hope so.
I'm Pete the Planner, and this is the show.